You grew up in Pittsburgh. Were you a Steelers fan?
Am still a Steelers fan. We're 1-0 now, so that's good. Made it out of Sunday's game with a win, so that's good.
Off to a good start.
Yeah.
Now, I read that you homeschooled. Is that correct? But you played baseball like with a local high school team. So what was life like for you as a kid, and where did baseball fit into your life?
Baseball's been a huge part of my life, throughout the whole thing. Really, there's portions of it where, the dream of playing in the big leagues like I am now may not have been as clear as it is today, but yeah, I did my coursework online in high school and took some college courses through some dual enrollment stuff. Just try and get ahead of it a little bit, make college a little lighter. But yeah, it was good. Baseball has always been probably my favorite activity, definitely my favorite sport. A lot of my life revolved around baseball since I was really young.
Okay, I love this. So you were taking college courses while you were in high school, and you wanted to be the first to graduate from college, right? The first in your family?
I was the first in my family, immediate family, yeah. So that was something that was important to me. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to be able to get 2 degrees, while playing baseball, and eventually, partially thanks to COVID and getting an extra year, I was able to, transfer to Gardner-Webb and put myself on a little bit bigger stage and get myself recognized by some scouts and get into pro ball and find myself here.
Yeah, we're going to go there, but there were some twists and turns along the way. So you're playing in high school, then you go to Waynesburg University. You're on the baseball team there. You were okay.
Okay, it's generous. Yeah, I was pretty bad. Yeah. I think I had a 7 ERA my first 2 years. So.
You did have a 7 ERA. I think it was like a 7.16 and a 7.03 or something. So you're not really dreaming about aspirations as a big leaguer at this point, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, really leaving high school and I went Division III so I could play my freshman year. That was what was important to me. It wasn't really where I was playing. It was just that I was playing. And Waynesburg gave me that opportunity despite my struggles. So I was grateful for that.
So that's cool. You're humming along. The fastball was like high 80s, low 90s. Is that right?
Coming out of high school, yeah, I think I touched 90, and then I think the place we're headed here was the sophomore year. My velo took a dip, and I was pitching about 83 to 84.
At that point, are you thinking just arm strength isn't there, whatever, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I lost weight, so I was pretty much, we didn't really know why at that point, but that's pretty much what I was chalking it up to. We also didn't have a radar gun that we used every day, so it wasn't like I watched it fall. It was just kind of like, yeah, it's a little slower, and then some days you end up playing on a field that has radar, and you're like, oh man, well, maybe today was just a bad day. You make excuses, but yeah.
Okay, so this is where it gets, though, pretty interesting, is you get an internship at a local hospital, a finance internship. You do the mandatory drug test like all the employees have to do, and you fail the drug test.
Not a fail.
Not a fail.
Not a fail, quite. They were suspicious that I was trying to fudge it around a little bit, so they tested it further. But, yeah, they didn't fail the drug test. They just they tested it further than they normally would have, and that's where they discovered my blood sugar was really elevated, and it recommended I go to the ER, and that's where I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
I mean, this is wild on so many levels, because if you hadn't done that, you might have gone longer, and who knows where your health might have gone, right, if you hadn't found that.
Yeah, all the charts they showed me in the hospital of blood sugar levels, mine was far and above where they were, so, it could have been weeks, it could have been longer, I don't know, but, my life was at risk for sure, so I was grateful that happened when it did.
So this routine drug test turns into, like you said, a diagnosis. What do you remember thinking when you first got diagnosed?
I had heard of diabetes. I'd never really heard of the differentiation between type 1 and type 2. I always kind of attributed it to, diet or lack of physical activity or genetics. No history of diabetes in my family, so, I was 20 years old, thin, pretty active, so I was confused, but quickly learned that it's an autoimmune disorder, that nothing that I did resulted in it happening, just kind of my body attacking itself and not producing insulin like everyone else. So kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around, but I felt fortunate that I was a little bit older. A lot of kids get diagnosed at young ages, a lot of times where they can't even understand what's going on. I was 20 years old and self-aware enough to realize what was going on, but also realize like what I had to do to continue living and continue doing what I wanted to do. And I felt a little bit of encouragement from that I finally had a grasp on what was going on.
Like, did it feel like a relief at all just to kind of know what was going on with your body because you hadn't been feeling well?
Yeah, not at first. I don't think those first couple of days in the hospital were relief feelings, but getting out of there and getting back to doing what I was doing and feeling just generally just a higher quality of life was definitely a relief.
Okay, so can you give us a glimpse into what it looked like for you pre-diagnosis, before you knew you had diabetes? Like, what were some of the symptoms you were feeling, and then what it looked like for you when you started to feel better?
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, I lost some weight, about 25 pounds or so over the course of a couple months. So it wasn't like overnight, but I was pretty thin already and really thin. I was 6'5" and like 160 pounds, so skin and bones, if you will. But I was really thirsty. I guess the way the body works when you're not getting enough insulin is it tries to put the sugar into your bloodstream or your urine and get it out of your body that way. So I was really thirsty, and in turn was you know urinating a lot.
Yeah.
And that was like my body's way of trying to regulate it on its own. Obviously I couldn't keep up, but those were the biggest symptoms, just like a really unquenchable thirst. I'd mix up like a 2-liter thing of Gatorade and just drink it straight out of the pitcher, and yeah, it was bad.
Probably were still like, man, why am I still thirsty,
Yeah,
right?
no, it's like that feeling on a hot summer day and you're outside and you get like an ice cold drink, and it's just like you just can't get enough of it. It just doesn't, like, unquenchable.
And so then when you start to feel better and you start to regulate, you're at a new normal now, right?
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, it's just back to normal, I guess. I didn't feel like I lost normal because it happened slowly, but yeah, just putting the weight back on, even just from being able to retain the fluids I was drinking, and then, a byproduct of getting rid of all the excess sugar that the body could on its own, it was also flushing all the nutrients I was getting from food too. So just being able to consume those nutrients and benefit from them again was really, really nice. Just felt healthy, felt like I'd been trying to put on weight. Now I finally was. So, it was kind of wind at your back feeling.
For sure. So then do you pick up a baseball and realize, hey, wait a second, I've got some more strength here? Like, how did that evolve?
Yeah, so it was in April that I was diagnosed, and the season was ending at the end of April. So I think I pitched in one more game before the end of the season, kind of like I can still play baseball. I don't really know what this is going to be like. I think I did fine. I don't really remember how it went.
Yeah.
But then I had that summer and kind of worked out and through. Didn't really have any idea how I was going to translate to the field, but I figured it would help. And then I had a really good fall my junior year and an awesome season my junior year. So it kind of just came to a head. Like I said, we didn't have the analytics or the radar guns or things like that to really like track the progress along with it. But post-diagnosis, my first full season was incredible.
Did you touch 100 that season? Like in college? No.
No, I don't know if I touched 100 until Gardner-Webb or even post-draft.
So you transferred to Division I to Gardner-Webb, more scouts looking at you. I think what is so crazy here is like you were on this trajectory to be in finance, which is cool. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, a great career. And then within the course of a year or two, you're suddenly on this trajectory to become a big leaguer, and you're drafted in the 3rd round by the Athletics. And did you and your family, how did you guys process that during that time?
Yeah, it happened really fast. And my family's they're big fans of me and me playing baseball, but at that time, I don't know how wide the horizon was on their general baseball, like how the draft worked, what the likelihood of me playing in the big leagues was. They knew it was slim, I think. But I know my parents were happy that when I went to Gardner-Webb, I was able to get my master's also. So it was like, yeah, we turned down a great job that I would have had coming out of 2020 or into 2020.
Like a finance job?
Yeah. It was with the health network that I did the internship with. So that was cool to have, and know I had some comfort going into COVID that I had accepted a job. And then once I got the extra year eligibility, I kind of a little torn on what to do, but I didn't want to have any regrets. So, I took the chance to go play, and that was kind of my, like, I'm going all in on baseball, even if it didn't feel like that to everybody else, because I kind of rationalized it like, oh, I could just get my master's, and that job, I can get that job again, in a year after I finish if it doesn't work out. But yeah, that's kind of how it went. But that moment that I went back for my 5th year of school was kind of, baseball is what I want to strive to do.
Does it give you a different appreciation for being on the field, just to go through those health struggles and then to be able to go out there every day and do what you do?
Yeah, uniquely, my experience is different from a lot of people, but in some ways it's very similar too, that, people struggled and people found ways to get through adversity to get here, whether that was just performance based or whether it was, their upbringing or, where they came from. So everybody's had trials and tribulations to get here. Mine's just been a little bit more well documented.
Unique, I would say. So, more unique. But so what do you contend with on a daily basis? Like, do you get any scares? Do you get fatigued? Do you have to watch kind of how much you do? Do you have to have sugar snacks with you? Like, how does it look for you?
Yeah, I fortunately, I had a great training staff with the A's that made it super easy for me. The staff here has been awesome as well. It's comforting knowing that you have those safety nets around, but fortunately, I've never had to use them. I take really good care of myself, and I pride myself on that. Um, but yeah, the technology that is out there these days is awesome. I wear a Dexcom that keeps my blood sugar, and I get updates on it every 5 minutes. So really, unless you're asleep at the wheel, it's pretty hard to not know what's going on.
Awareness is so important for you. Why is that so important, and how do you try to spread that?
Yeah, I think I'm in a unique position as it is, just being a big league baseball player, that I got my dream as a little kid realized, and that's awesome. So, I have a responsibility to the kids that come to games, things like that. I believe, to have the same impact and, grow that love of the game and grow that admiration for what we do. That's the stage we've been put on. So, it's up to each individual how involved they want to be, and things like that. And it is a long year, so it's hard to do it every day. But from a standpoint of diabetes, I know that there's kids that are fans. I remember even at 20 years old, I looked up athletes that had type 1 diabetes while I was in the hospital days after I was diagnosed. So, I know a lot of kids do that too, and I know that my name's a name that pops up now. And I have a lot of kids or their families reach out to me, sometimes just thanking me for what I do, but also just had a chance to meet me or whatever, and I'm able to bring them down on the field before a game, talk to them, meet them, give them a cool experience. Me aside, it's cool for me to meet them. I tell them it's as surreal and as rewarding for me to meet them as it is for them to meet me. I don't think any of them believe me, but um, it's just a cool experience in and of itself, being a kid and getting to come down on a big league field. Watch guys like Manny and Toddy and all these guys that are stars that they watch on TV all the time, see highlights, and they get to stand here and watch them hit 30 feet away from them. So
That is so cool.
yeah.
Do you ever talk to Michael King about his foundation, and his wife also, I believe, has diabetes?
Yeah, so we had some mutual friends, and we actually met last year when we were here in San Diego.
Nice.
And yeah, it's awesome what they're doing with the foundation. Like an honorary board member, so humble brag, I guess. I'm involved.
You're a
but
consultant.
yeah. I know that they're getting off the ground with that, and it's super awesome to see the way that Michael and Sheila have been able to tie both of their experiences and both of their lives together to bring this foundation to the front here, and I know they're going to do a lot of good with it too.
All right, before I move on, I just want to touch on when you got drafted. So when you get drafted in the 3rd round, are you like pretty stoked? I mean, is this kind of like, wow, this just happened, and you worked hard for it, but you got there.
Yeah, that kind of felt like a huge relief for me, because I felt like I was going all in on baseball. It felt a little risky. A lot of things could have happened. I had a good season. But yeah, just all that work from the past season being realized in that moment, seeing your name on the TV and, getting the call and everything. And, then you have a couple of days where it's just kind of just settles in, and then it's off to Arizona, and off you go. You're playing baseball again. So,
And you're probably really good with your finances and could help other guys out if they need it, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I it's got to the point now. I pay somebody to do it for me. So, that's
you
what
know what to look for.
that's what I would recommend. I think I'm a little bit more polished than most guys, so maybe I can give them good advice on, maybe go get it managed by somebody else. So,
I love it. All right, so were you a starter up until the Athletics turned you into a reliever? Did you start throughout college? So did you have any hesitation or did you push back on that at all when it was time to make that transition or they came to you with that?
I would say I was excited about it necessarily, but I think for health reasons, which is why we did it, it made sense. I hadn't shown I'd been able to stay healthy as a starter in 22 in the minor leagues and in 23 when I made my debut. I didn't necessarily love the idea because it's something that I'd done for so long, but I was just grateful to have an opportunity in the big leagues, and so I wanted to make the most of that. And fortunately, it's worked out really well.
Have you learned anything being in the bullpen that has surprised you, maybe about being a pitcher?
No, I've always thought that being a starter and then going to the bullpen has helped me a lot more than being a bullpen guy and then going to the rotation, because I feel like the elements of pitching, the elements of facing a guy 3 times in the same game, and trying to manage a lineup and work around certain things as a starter teaches you a lot about pitching that you don't learn in the bullpen, because in the bullpen it's just like, do your job, get 3 outs. I don't care how it looks. Like it's like, did you put up a 0 or did you not put up a 0? Yeah. Sometimes you strike out the side, sometimes you walk 2 guys and get a double play, and it's at the end of the day you got the 0. So it's a little different for sure.
You're on the cusp, if all goes well for the Padres, of your first postseason. Have you thought about that at all? Like maybe watching it throughout the years and thinking, I'd love to be in the playoffs, and what that opportunity might be for you in terms of just making it to that point.
100%. Everybody shows up to spring training, no matter what team you are on, no matter what your chances of making the playoffs or the projections are, but like that's the expectation. That's why you show up in February. That's why you work so hard in the off season. That's why you grind each day, is to try and get your team, if not that year, but in future years, to that position to compete for a World Series. And that's why we play the game. We love competition, and the playoffs is the ultimate kind of platform to do that on.
Yeah. All right, so when did you touch like 100, 101, 102, and were you surprised when all that started happening?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I throw hard, but I watch other guys throw, and sometimes it's like 95, and I'm like, man, that's pretty fast. I remember hitting, and anything over like 85, I like could barely see. So like, I am just kind of surprise myself sometimes too, but I try not to focus so much on the velocity, and I just try to focus on executing and staying within myself as opposed to trying to do too much.
What do you think are the misconceptions about a high velocity guy? Because I think sometimes it's like just throw as hard as you can and everybody's going to get out, right?
Yeah.
But it's not really that easy.
You do get away with some things that other guys don't get away with, mislocations, mistakes, things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, if you're going to be successful in this league, you have to have more than one pitch. You have to be able to be more than just a one-trick pony, be able to locate, be able to change speeds, things like that. So,
as evidenced by the immaculate inning on all sliders, which was pretty fun to watch. Do you experience anything different when you throw that fast? Like, do you hear the ball whiz or anything, or is there?
Well, not here because there's so many fans.
That's true.
You don't hear a whole lot of anything.
Why do you think some guys can touch 103, 104, and some guys can't? Like, is it genetics? Is it training? What do you think it is?
I think a lot of it is God-given talent. Obviously, you have to have the desire and the work ethic to realize those gifts. But I don't point to one thing that I've done to say like do this and you'll throw harder. I think it's just a combination of everybody's different, and finding the things that work for you, the things that make your body feel not only good but something you're able to repeat.
Do you sneak a peek at the radar gun sometimes, or like the radar out there?
Yeah, I'm guilty for sure.
All right, any hobbies, Mason? Anything you like to do when you are not at the ballpark?
Golf's a big hobby of mine. Always trying to get a little better. It's just relaxing. I enjoy it a lot, and good time with some of the guys or buddies back home. But besides that, my wife and I like to spend a lot of time together away from the field, since this lifestyle and this job, if you will, is very demanding, very time demanding. You spend a lot more time with your teammates sometimes than your families. So just appreciating those moments that you get at home and being intentional with that.
Have you played golf with anyone in the clubhouse?
I have, yeah. Gavin's one of the best golfers I've ever played with.
Favorite sugary snack?
Sour Patch Kids is my go-to. Blue and red are my two favorites.
I love it. Nailed it down. Mason, thank you so much for the time and for letting us get to know you.
Absolutely. Thank you.